Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elston. Welcome to my channel, elstonation. In this video, we're going to look at something rather special and rather close to my heart. Now, if you don't know of a company called Lion Tower Miniatures, I would beg you to go check them out. They're a mini company, and I know the creator of the company and the owner of the company, Dan. He has been what I would consider a good friend for a good few years now. Even to the point where me and a certain Spuddicus have minis made of ourselves, which is just a lifelong goal. Just happened. I am now in mini format, but I want to talk to you about Lion Tower. Now, in this video as well, you're going to see a tutorial going on. I've hopefully filmed it well enough so that you can just follow along with the paints I show and how I paint them. You don't necessarily need me to tell you, you should be able to see them. So now, what is Lion Tower Miniatures? Lion Tower Miniatures is a miniature making company that specializes in 3D STL files. Now, Lion Tower have also branched out into the world of 3D production. I say production, they don't produce them themselves. They usually get a third-party manufacturer to produce them for them, but you can get the 3D models yourselves if you don't own a 3D printer yourself. So don't worry about that. There will be a link to the Etsy store down below, but in this video I'm going to talk about the models, the model range, what I like about them, what I believe is great, and to give you all a heads up as well, there's a Kickstarter running for Lion Tower. So if you like the models that you see and you like the model that I'm painting in this effective tutorial as well, there will be a link below for that Kickstarter. If it's something you feel would be worthwhile, or you just like the look of the models, or if you're a little bit like me and you hoard STL files these days, then please go check it out, and please, if you can, spare a little bit of cash and get yourself some awesome models. So Lion Tower themselves have a strong influence from well, let's not beat around the bush, it's Final Fantasy basically. The influence on a lot of the models does kind of descend from the Final Fantasy era. Now, if you were like me in the 90s, growing up, Final Fantasy VII was like, that was my jam. That was what I was into myself. And I know I clocked it last time in my memory banks that I was at 136 hours on it. And that's not a massive amount for this day and age, but for when you were a kid and going outside was a far more appealing option back then. 136 hours, that's commitment. That is, I was committed to the grind with that game. Now, I know a lot of people as well love Final Fantasy VIII and they say it's the best. However, Final Fantasy VII is just a bit too close to my heart to agree with them. However, I did play 8, I didn't get all the way through it, and I think that's why I don't rate 8 above 7. I still rate it, but I don't rate it above 7. I'll go back and play that one day. The very odd and peculiar thing I find about Lion Tower Miniatures is it feels like a bath that's getting hotter as you stay in it longer, to the point where it's kind of lukewarm when you first get in and you're like, yeah, this is alright, it's alright, and then it just gets nice and a little bit warmer and a little bit warmer and a little bit warmer until you're just like, yeah, this is cool. I know that's a very weird analogy, so just bear with me on that one. But the more I look at Lion Tower, the more I fall in love with it. Every time I see a new sculpt, it may not be the most favourite thing compared to some of the other 3D sculptors in the world, but it's just adding to the whole, which is great. For example, the new light infantry range, not overly my favourite, however, adds to it. Now, I look at what Dan's done, and he set up an entire kingdom, which is just mental. And let's not beat around the bush, the main reason why you're probably looking at this is the Rockabo Knights. By no means least, they're basically chocobos, but copyright infringement, all that jazz, they're rockabos. So if you've ever wanted knights that just look cool, they've just got cool armor, it's kind of like an element of the Dragon Prince influence there as well, riding giant killer ostrich raptors, then yeah, this is definitely the one for you. Definitely the one for you. It's hard to put my finger on why, what, where, when, and I've not scripted this one because I wanted to talk about it personally from my own kind of views and lay it out. I could have scripted and come up with some great kind of profound sayings or something like that, but that's really not the case in this. This is just a very dear project to me, and the more I see Dan evolve this world, the more as I said, the more I fall in love with this, well, hopefully, a game. Now, this brings me on to a point. Because Dan is a friend, he has shared various different things with me, and I've been involved with, in some elements, the creation of this. For example, there are models, well, there is a model of me in the range, in part of this kingdom. This kingdom is called Talarian Kingdom. I believe that's what it is. I probably got that name wrong. But the Talarian Kingdom is his kingdom for these sets of knights. This army, this kingdom, if you will. I've said kingdom one too many times. However, all the knights, they're all from the same place, so they've all got the same kind of aesthetic vibe from it. Now, I'm in that kingdom. There is a miniature me in there. There's a miniature Spud in there. There's a miniature Spud of me in there, which is great, and I love it. And that's like tick off the bucket list, and it's just something incredible that I can't put into words. Now, not only have we also become part of the kingdom physically, me and Spud have also helped Dan with some of the backstory, some of the inspiration behind it. The paint scheme that you see on the Kickstarter was kind of me and Dan playing around with test schemes, and I came up with this one that looked a little bit like the Green Power Ranger, and Dan liked it, so it's kind of become the color scheme of them. Now, that's not to say that you have to do them that way. These are your models, and that is what everyone should always aspire to. They're your models. You can do whatever the hell you want with them. You can paint them whatever color you like. However, Dan ran with this one, so I effectively created the color scheme for this kingdom. It was kind of cool. Like, happy little accident, nice little stamp on it to say I did that. I mean, personally, when I showed Dan the thing, I was like, this guy does look like the Green Power Ranger, and he's like, yeah, it looks amazing though. So, yeah, one of those things. Now, not only have we helped with influences of colour, we've also, as I said, helped out with influences in the storyline and the backline. Dan has also showed us some of the rules mechanics for the games he's designing. Now, I said games in plural because, yes, potentially there are a couple of different games going to be coming out for this. They're not just isolating it just to one, there's going to be a couple of them. I'm not going to talk too much about that because nothing has come off that yet. It's still a bit of a way off. Hopefully it'll happen in the future. But yeah, there's some cool ideas coming up for that, and all I can say is think Monster Hunter is one of them. Monster Hunter mixed with Hero Quest. How about that? One of the aesthetic reasons that I really like about this is the knights look like fully clad knights. Looks like you would have a hard time actually hurting them. They've got this very nice balance between heavily armored and athletically mobile. I know that's a weird statement, but basically, when I look at them, they look like they would be a brick wall to break through. However, they look like they could sprint and also take your head off at the same time, which is where I really fall in love with them. There's a lot of instances where knights look way too clunky, and it looks like if they ran and they accidentally tripped, they're not getting back up again. It's kind of like a tortoise on his back. It's not happening. These look like they could sprint after you, and you're only seeing in the tutorial right now the Rockabow Knight. However, there are foot soldiers, there's the King's Glaive, the King's Guard, various different units including Ogre unit, the Order of the Dragon, there looks like there's some martial artists, there's the archers, crossbows, shooters, outriders, light cavalry. There's just an entire kingdom here. There's a load of characters as well, which I printed off recently, I need to get to it. I've spent a lot longer painting these as well, which is a very strange thing for me. I'm usually pretty good at smashing out armies in no time at all, but these have taken me a while. Now, I don't know if it's this month where I'm generally slowing down, or whether there is some kind of sentimental value in these which is forcing my subconscious to slow me down so that I take better care of them. I don't know, but I am trying to do a better job of these than I've done with my other ones. I'm hoping if you're following along with this, you've seen a couple of cool techniques, and one of my favorites is the fact that I rarely use gold these days. I usually use silver with a Seraphim Sepia wash, and then use Agrax Earthshade gloss over the top of it, and then I get my cool shaded gold all in one, which is, yeah, my new favorite technique. So if I was going to tell you anything, that's one of them. Another one of them as well is to do with the fur and the feathers. So the fur on the back of the rider, it's very easy to fall into the trap of just base coat it, dry brush it, and there you go. And I personally, I'm moving away from that. I don't find that's very good. Now, this may just be a personal preference of my time in life and the journey I'm going on, but I tend to find wet blending them to make a gradient and make them a solid block makes far more sense. It's very rare to see fur from a distance and not blend it all together. When you get up close, obviously, yeah, you can see the individual particles, but we're looking at these things from like god level view, so it would make sense if the fur was all the same. The same goes for the feathers as well. I've oversimplified it by just basically creating lines. If you have a look at the feather patterns on the Rockabo, there are lines of feathers where they kind of overlap, and I've just highlighted the lines rather than highlighting every single feather individually and doing it like that. I've just highlighted the lines of the feathers, and the same effect rings true, and if not, looks a little bit better. So it's one of those interesting things where you may go through and you may think, oh, this is going to be an arduous process of highlighting every single feather with every single strand. That's not required. You can just wet blend them all together and it looks just as good. So yeah, some interesting little tidbits of advice when you're painting models. That's one of the things I can describe to you because I was quite proud of those little bits. And to be honest with you, you're watching this video mainly for the Rockabo night anyway. Now, as I said, Lion Tower have a Kickstarter running at the present moment in time. As I said, there'll be a link below, so please go check it out if you feel like it. Lion Tower not only have the Kickstarter, they also have a Patreon, and they also have a store as well, where you can basically purchase the STL files on my mini factory. If you haven't seen the back catalogue, then please go check it out. And I can tell you as well that what's coming up, if you like Final Fantasy, you are going to absolutely wet yourself when you see this. There is some amazing stuff on the way. It's not in the Kickstarter itself, but if you would like to follow along on Patreon as well when the files get released, you're gonna love that. But if not, if you just want the one-offs, there's also my mini factory where you can purchase the files, and there's a multitude of characters. You can get the Cavalry, you can get all the different things, but the easiest and the cheapest and the most cost-effective bundle right now is the Kickstarter. Since it's STL files as well, you'll get it relatively quickly. It's not going to be a long wait because most of the files, I believe, are already done. I've already printed a few of them off, so in theory, once all the funds are released and everything like that, you should just get an email with a link to all the downloads, which is great. So you don't have to wait around a long time. Now, for all the people out there that don't have a 3D printer, I hear you, okay. I know 3D printing might not be your thing, so this may just seem like, well, what's the point? I don't have a 3D printer, this is just for 3D printers. That's not the case. There is an Etsy store where you can buy these. I hopefully will have a link. If not, I will find directions for you to go get them. So if you don't have a 3D printer and 3D printing is not your thing, you can purchase these models. Fine, no problem. You can join in with the rest of us. I wouldn't want people missing out because these are phenomenal models. Now, a very interesting thing as well about Lion Tower is the variety. Now, I've kind of alluded to that a lot with various different things, but as I said, you get knights, you get light infantry, you get archers, you get crossbow, you get handgunners, you get like cavalry, you get outriders, you get Rockabo knights, which are basically heavy cavalry. You get a multitude of characters as well that go with it. So if you are looking for an alternate to another kind of fantasy game, these are pretty much bang on. If you were ever bored of horses and the standard boring stuff, but you wanted some killer ostriches instead that have heavily armored knights on their backs, these are going to be absolutely perfect for you. So I would say this is probably one of the more ultimate proxy armies that you can get for whatever game system. It doesn't necessarily have to be Warhammer Fantasy, it doesn't have to be Age of Sigmar, it doesn't have to be a Song of Ice and Fire, it can be any of them. Just there's 3 off the top of my head: Kings of War, various other different ones, and these would all fit in. The great thing about the Kickstarter as well, there's also bases in mind, so if you need STL files for bases, well, you get them as well. Also as well that comes with it, there's the starter pack, and there's various different things in there, like there's companions, there's various different bits of terrain or scatter terrain that are in the system. I believe there's even weapons packs. So if you want all these extra things, the entirety of it is not confined to just the models in the kingdom. There's a bunch of other stuff as well. So I'm trying to sell this as much as I can, but if you're really not listening to me, I got another thing I can throw at you. The Kingdom of Talaria, again, I think that's how you pronounce it, is a multi-race kingdom. So what you will see is you will see humans in there, but you may also see drow, or you may see half-orcs, or you may see halflings, or whatever. There is a bunch of different races in here as well, which is just the incredible thing. So if D&D is your thing, then again, this will work, because you can make any of them. You can print off as many of these as you want. I've been talking in the reference that this is an entire army, but you don't have to use it that way. If you want a knight that rides around on a rockabow and is your saving grace, you can just print off one of these. They have a multitude of poses, and the riders are relatively easy to swap out. You can swap them for different weapon options, you can switch them out to go on the different birds. All the riders fit on all the birds, and they're pretty snug fit as well, so I can't really say anything bad about that. You've got the options that a lot of ones you don't get because these legs go on this body or something to that effect. In this case, any body can go with any legs, if that makes sense. Hopefully, if the Kickstarter does well enough as well, there will be modular bodies and knights so that you can create them with the option to switch out the heads and switch out the weapons. So you can now customize this army even more. You know, I'm selling this as much as I can. If you're not into it by now, I don't think you're gonna be, but I've got a couple more things I can throw at you as well. As I said, there's a multitude of races. There's even ogres in here as well, which is just cool. I've seen that the stretch goals have been unlocked, so that if rockabos aren't your thing, or chocobos, I mean, yeah, the chocobos for all intents and purposes, if that's not your thing, they've unlocked the horse option. So there'll be horse options for these knights as well. So you don't have to have killer ostriches, you can have normal knights as well. So if that is something you're looking into, if you're into Kings of War, you need a cavalry unit, by all means, yeah, go check it out. Now, as well, also to be inclusive with this, what I really appreciate Dan has done in here is he has sculpted male and female counterparts for each of them. I've got a multitude of them, and they're not boob bikini wearing females. They are knights, just the same as the male, but they are proportionate towards a female stature rather than a male stature, and you can tell the difference. The female ones are a little bit more lithe, a little bit more look like they're faster, whereas the male ones are a bit bigger and clunkier. But that's not to say either or, and there's not a real defining difference to make it look like your stereotypical fantasy where a woman will be scantily clad, wearing armor that only covers her private parts, but everything else is completely on show. That's not the case here. The women in armor, the knights, the fighters at least anyway, are fighters. So you can print out as many of those as you like, and it's really nice to see that I'm doing a mixed army, so there'll be male and female in this army, and the cool thing is they all look uniform. If you look closely, you can tell which one's male and which one's female, but it's all inclusive. There's no difference. Now, if you go to the characters, there's a little bit of a difference there. There are some characters which are closer towards the more feminine side of things, but I think that's more to adhere to the stereotypical fantasy archetype. So, but there are mages, there are female mages, there are male mages, there are female fighters and male fighters, there are female clerics and there are male clerics. It's just one of these small things which I don't really like hammering on about it, but it's really cool in this instance, so it's nice everything's inclusive in there. Now I need to wrap this one up because my voice is going on me, but if I haven't sold it to you, fair enough, don't bother. However, if there is something I have said or you have seen in this video which has just got you the slightest bit intrigued, please click on the link below and go have a look at the Kickstarter. It would mean the world to me if it was something you're interested in and you can support Dan in the Kickstarter, then please go ahead. Hopefully this will come out in time. If that's the case, on Thursday the 27th of May on Chilling Wargamers, we're going to have Dan the creator on to talk about the Kickstarter and go through a few things. So once that stream is up, I will put a link into this video as well, so if you're watching this back afterwards, you can go over and watch it on the Chilling Wargamers channel and watch us have a laugh and have a chinwag and talk all about the Kickstarter. But until then everyone, my name's been Elston. This has been a very different tutorial for me, slightly inspired by Pickle. Don't tell him that, otherwise he'll get a big ego, but yeah, inspired by Pickle. If you don't know who Pickle is, go check out the link below as well. But yes, thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, be good, be safe, and go check out the Kickstarter, get some STL files and print stuff so I can see more armies of these, because I really want us to do it. Also as well, Monster Hunter plus Hero Quest, that's all I'm going to say. Support it, and that will arrive. Until next time everyone, be good, safe, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.